Look at this fancy new little TV I got. I picked it up on Marketplace. I'm pretty excited about this. It's pretty wild. This is one of the flat screen Toshibas that actually has like 16:9 if you want. And you should see the number of inputs it has in the back, like S-video, composite, component. It's great. Anyway, let's play with CPM and check out the new feature where you can redirect input and output from the console to Telnet. So you can Telnet into it and have multiple sessions. It's, well, not technically multiple sessions. You can have multiple connections to the same session. I should have clarified that. So, yeah, but before we begin, I have a couple things I want to show you. I'm kind of excited for this because I got this box from back home and I brought it with me because it's full of all of the old NABU stuff, okay? So everything from share certificates, original share certificates, to like the toque. There's original badges in here too. A whole bunch of stuff. Oh, there's another NABU down there, it looks like. So I got a whole whack of things here to play with and show you guys. So we're gonna do another video of all of this stuff shortly. Poof! And we also have this too. I totally forgot all about it. This is a NABU 1600. So we're gonna turn this guy on pretty soon here too, and play with him in a future video. Another thing I have planned too for the next couple days as well is this is the 4-port keyboard. This is a prototype, and I'll dive into it and take it apart and show you what makes it a prototype. And I also have my ROM reader, so we'll read the ROM from this because it is a one-of-a-kind ROM that was just a prototype that my father had been working on back in the day. So we'll be able to dive into that in a future episode as well. So let's start off by configuring the screen so you can actually read what's going on. So let's just type in color I for interactive mode. And let's try a color that you guys can actually read better. Yeah, there we go. You probably can't tell, but it's like a green. Yeah, that's nice. You can read that because the inverted is good. Okay, so let's hit S to save that selection. So the system that we're going to be using today, you can find a little bit about it by typing in help. There's two ways you can do this. So there is a program called Stat that comes with the NABU, or with the NABU, with CPM. And Stat allows you to do things like configure disks, read stuff about disks, all different commands. You can also do Stat on devices. And this will tell you about what devices. So con is your console, that's your output. So currently it's configured for the CRT, right? So that'll be your NABU output. Your RDR is your reader input, so that's your keyboard. And this CPM dates back obviously to before we had computers like we have computers with keyboards and stuff. They were always terminal based. So a reader could have been punch tape, punch cards, it could have been anything. So we use, like currently it's configured for PTR, ignore that, that's because it's playing around. Now we have punch and list, and we're not gonna use that. So we don't need to configure it using Stat. If we type in help, what we can do is we can see there's a program here called redirect. It's a utility. And we'll run redirect, the utility here. And what redirect's going to do is it's going to prompt us with ways we can redirect the console input and output. And we can hit the corresponding letter to change the input and output. Now, the TTY 8251 hack, that is, or more information can be found about that. If we take a look on our NABU.ca webpage, and we take a look inside of the hardware section, you'll see here that Greg Holdren's 8251, this is the introduction, and you can get a little overview, and he's got a video on how to do it. Essentially, this is super cool. With a single jumper and connecting your ground and your TX to an RS-232 USB converter, such as an Arduino or something, you can actually get serial output of your NABU without any additional hardware, meaning you don't have to go buy a serial card or anything. You can actually just use your existing NABU as is to output to serial. Now, that's only useful if you have some sort of serial terminal. So the hardcore guys, yeah, you guys are gonna have serial terminals someplace. But for the rest of us, we don't got that kind of stuff, yo. So what we're gonna do is we can configure the input and output mapping. So these are your bits. And we can configure the input and output to use a Telnet server. So you'll be able to Telnet into the BU from anywhere, essentially where you can access your Internet Adapter's TCP server. So to turn that on, you have to go into your settings menu here, go into RetroNet, and the port for the TCP server is here. And of course you can click this button here to start it. Now by default, it is not enabled. Now we're gonna Telnet into the Internet Adapter server that we just enabled. So I'm gonna use PuTTY. I've already created a CPM local, and that is 127.0.0.0.1, but our port, of course, is going to be 5815, and we'll click save on that. Now, we want the emulation mode, the terminal emulation mode, to be VT52 or ADM3A. I'm pretty sure PuTTY doesn't support ADM3A, but that's okay. We're just gonna run it as is, and we'll have, you know, not great emulation mode, but you guys can configure that. That's something you can do. So we're gonna click open, and that's gonna open a terminal to the IA. So right now it's responded, and we know it's responded because we just got a blank screen with no error messages. So the reason why we don't see anything is because our NABU is not configured to output to it. So let's do something before we configure everything over. Let's just turn on the console output. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna make this screen, everything that displays on the screen, instead of going to here, it's gonna go to there, but it's gonna keep using this keyboard. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna hit, on the console output, we're gonna hit D to select D. And now we're gonna hit S to save. Check it out. So now we can use the NABU keyboard and we're outputting to the Telnet session. Now, as you can tell, nothing is happening on the screen now. This CRT is, it's turned off. We just turned it off, right? So that's all here. Now, if we want to put it back or change to the input, let's do that. Let's change it to the input. We can type in redirect. Okay, so yeah, so it didn't clear the screen because we're currently configured for ADM3 emulation mode. So instead we just wrote the text out here. So we don't even know which one is selected because this should be inverted. So we do know that the Telnet server is selected D. So let's configure the input to be G. So I'm gonna hit the letter G on the NABU keyboard. Now I'm gonna hit S on the NABU keyboard to save, which is gonna bring us back to our command prompt. Now, when I use the keyboard on the computer, see, I can actually type, and here we are. Isn't that wild? Okay, so something else that's kind of neat is we can actually duplicate this session, and look. We have it in 2 windows now. So you could have up to, I think, 32. So you could keep yourself logged in, go into another computer someplace else and Telnet into the IA, and anyway, it's pretty wild. So let's run our redirect. And let's turn it back to the NABU. So we're gonna wanna select B for video output to be to the back to the NABU, so letter B. And now let's hit the reader input to be the NABU keyboard, which is a letter E. And now we'll hit S for save. And now we're back over on the NABU again. Isn't that fun? There is a program inside of user 1 that if you want to play with this as well, it's called, let's see here, TCP Server. So inside of NABULIB, there's TCP Server in the GitHub repo. So if you want to see how to use a TCP server from your program, this is where you can find it from. So if, for example, on the NABU, I start typing, it's going to show up in my Telnet session. And in my Telnet session, if I start typing, it's going to show up on the NABU. So this little program, TCP Server, demonstrates how you can write a program to be able to use the TCP Server built into the IA. If we take a look at the NABULIB folder, now keep in mind by the time you watch this video, you're probably going to have experience a better organized structure, because right now this is kind of a mess, and I have on my list to do pretty soon is clean this up. But if you go to the test TCP, you can click on your main file here and you can see exactly how it's working. So you can read from the TCP. Yeah, I cannot speak right now. Maybe that's a sign I should just stop this video now. So I think we've done a pretty good job by demonstrating the CPM redirect. And I think the next time I do something with this, I might want to dive into the 8251 that Greg had set up for us, because I think that'd be a fun hack to add to my NABUs. Okay, I'll see you guys all in the next video. Take care.